Welcome to Jewish Boy Calls Your Mother. I wish this wasn't a special
Calls your
episode.
mother or his mother?
Jewish Boy, I say her or his?
You said your.
Calls your mother. Wow,
Does that mean that the whole world is Jewish?
Sure. I've been so exhausted just running around doing a bunch of stuff, helping out different organizations, trying to coordinate different things for different people, and just educating and making phone calls, and saying Tehillim, and I think I want to do this episode more of like a documentation historically of what's going on. We can get our emotions and our feelings and everything that we went through the past week, and then kind of recap and maybe talk about it. Maybe we'll do like a double episode of some sort. We're just going to just talk and see where it goes. The main thing I wanted to mention was when Israel was attacked on Simchas Torah, as Jews that don't use electricity during the holidays, it was very nerve-wracking because you had a few people that weren't Jewish that were very willing to help, and give information, or turn on their TVs and let people watch and whatnot. But that wasn't the case for me. I don't think that was the case for you. It was a lot of bits and pieces of what was going on, and no one knew what was going on, really, until the end of Yom Tov, when I could just turn on my phone. And I think that was so stressful for me, at least, wanting to figure out what I can do and what's happening and what's going on.
Well, I remember when we were by Pesci, was it, I think, you who said that you had run into some non-religious Jewish people that told you about what was happening.
What happened was there was this non-religious Jewish guy in this shul I was attending, and he told the security guards there, and they were talking amongst themselves, and I overheard them talk, and then I tried to hear more and try not to butt in, but just try to listen to see what's going on. And all I heard was a lot of Jews were dead, Israelis were dead, and Hamas has taken over like 20 different cities. And that's all I heard for, like, I would say maybe 8-9 hours, because I heard it at like 12 o'clock in the afternoon, Simchas Torah, when it's supposed to be a day of celebration. And people made sure that even though it's a day of celebration, even though there's a tragedy, it's a day of celebration, and out of defiance, we have to dance. We have to dance around the bima. We have to be happy. We have to do those things that are necessary. And that was so difficult for me to really feel like. And I remember I got home after davening, and I just like laid down on my bed, and I told Ruthie, I'm like, I feel like this was just Yom Kippur davening, because it's just like
a lot of people said that.
Yeah. And I mean, I think you're like, you didn't know until much later in the day when I told you.
I was kind of like shocked. What? I just couldn't fathom. It was just like shocked. It was absolutely shocking.
Yeah.
It was almost like September 11th, when I felt that when I got home and turned on the radio and heard about September 11th, and I thought that they were talking about the attempt on the World Trade Center. Say, like, then there had been an attempt in the World Trade Center 3 years prior to September 11th, and they tried to put explosives. Their plan was to put explosives in the basement, and they detonated an explosive, but it didn't work.
Yeah,
because the foundation was too strong, and so thank God nobody was hurt. I think there might have been maybe 2 or 3 people in the basement. So I don't know, but
yeah, basically the damage was low.
So when I heard about it, I thought maybe they were the talk show host said, I guess by now everyone has heard about the World Trade Center. So I thought, well, maybe he's reminiscing about what happened 3 years ago. And the more I'm listening to the radio, I'm going, what? It's like,
yeah, that feeling.
It's like
that feeling of like slowly sinking in.
A numbing shock. Like, at first it's like, you can't believe, like, am I hearing this correctly?
Yeah. And then after Yom Tif is when I started finding out online, and I didn't fully understand the damage. And that's when I started seeing pictures, and it just made me so
We
sick.
you saw the real pictures the pictures you saw, I think, were real and not blurred out.
Yes, I got unfiltered pictures because this was coming from
Mm.
people that I knew in Israel.
A friend of mine also got unfiltered pictures, and she told me she she hasn't been able to sleep since.
Yeah. Yeah. It feels like a weird dream. It feels like a weird like nightmare, and you wake up and you think you're still like, oh, it was just a nightmare, it's a dream. And then it dawns and you're like, no, it's still existing, it's still happening. Um,
And it's like, you know, like what was I doing? I don't know, I was like on the flight back. Um I
to
was I
Florida,
was
you're
playing
saying.
from a flight back from New York
Yeah.
after Yom Tov. I was playing a chess game on my phone. I thought to myself, you know, 1,000 Jews died in Israel, and you're playing a chess game. Like on
It,
one hand, you've got to live. You can't let it, you can't let it get you. You've got to live. You've got to do things. You have to carry on with your life. On the other hand, it's like I'm listening to music and I'm doing this, I'm doing that, and with everything I did, it's like 1,000 Jews died in Israel, and you're listening to music, and you're playing piano and singing, and you're playing a chess game, and you know there's the other side of me that
yeah. No, I understand that, but I think what's also important is, we're getting so many images right now, and Hamas is planning on releasing more videos and whatnot, and it's trying to get you down. And that's why when you were talking about chess and talking about listening to music, on some level, you should be entertaining yourself. You should find joy and happiness and make yourself happy. Because watching too much of this is bad for your health. Like now everyone's talking about like limit your time on your phone. Really limit your time on your phone. Um,
Mhm.
and for me, it's more of like I'm trying to limit my time, but people are contacting me. I'm talking to different people. Um, I'm not like some whatever. I'm just able to help people, so I'm talking to people and doing what I can, like volunteering. Like I volunteered at the
Mhm.
I was helping this one group upload a truck, U-Haul truck of stuff from Matsala the other night, and I had to like call and organize and whatnot. But the point I was trying to make with what you were saying is that you shouldn't feel guilty entertaining yourself, because you should be misameach. It's really important to be misameach, especially now. I watch Family Guy and whatnot just to make myself, laugh, because I specifically avoid the negative imagery and the negative talk and all that stuff. Um, and thank God the Achdus amongst Yisrael is just beautiful.
The irony, if you look at history, whenever an enemy has done something like this, thinking that they're going to totally demoralize the other side, it has the exact opposite effect. It mobilizes the other, it makes them more determined to destroy that enemy more than ever. And like Pearl Harbor was supposed to totally destroy us. It totally mobilized America to get into World War II and to fight the Axis powers. And September 11th, same thing. Far from being demoralized, it
It
mobilized people.
it really
Yeah,
pushed people
the
over the
exact
edge on the
opposite.
other opposite side. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it had the exact opposite effect.
I mean,
I heard an interesting story, by the way, on one of the talk shows down here in Florida. It was Eric Erickson is his name, and he said, well, one of the things that he said when this whole thing started was, you're either on the side of Israel or you're on the side of evil. And then yesterday he told an interesting story that he read in one of the Jewish publications
yeah,
about this Jewish woman who's, in fact, an American Jewish woman whose house was like near the border there, and Hamas, these Hamas, I'm not going to say militants, these Hamas terrorists makes me very irritated when you see militants, not militants, terrorists came into her house and they held a grenade next to her head and they told her prepare to die. And she said to them, "You all look hungry. Let me feed you first." Okay. So she prepared them some food. And then she noticed one of them had like these cuts on his hand. She goes, "You've got those cuts on your, let me help you." And she took out, some antibiotic ointment and cleaned up the cuts and put ointment on them and bandaged them. And they were, again, so while she was doing this, she was able somehow to send a signal, some sort of signal to her son, who was an IDF soldier, and about where she was located and what was going on. And so they did, some IDF soldiers were able very quietly to sneak into the attic of her house and then come down, and they killed the terrorists that were in her house. And she was okay.
I heard another miracle story. So there was when Hamas entered all these villages, they entered this one house, and it was this old couple, and they took them and got them to march, and they said, to go to Gaza, and they're like, "No, we need the hospital." And they're like, "No, go to Gaza, march to Gaza." And they're like, "No, we need the hospital." And they went back and forth and back and forth and back and forth until finally the Hamas guy was just so tired. He's like, "Fine, go, just go to the hospital. Forget it, just go." And, yeah. And I'm hearing some stories are coming out where it's just like the brutality is nuts, but I don't want to talk about the brutality right now.
Right.
But some stories where it's just like, it reminded me of the Nazis in a way of like, do you remember these stories we talked about on the podcast, where it's like people were saved because the way the Nazis were so in order with their with their rituals, and things had to be in order, where it's like, you're not in this house, you're not registered to this house, I'm not going to kill you right now. Things like that happened as well, where they were like, one lady's like, "Are you going to kill me? And it's like, "No, we're not going to kill you. Don't worry, you can trust us. We're Muslim. We're not going to kill you. It's fine. Like, we believe in God." And they like took care of her, and just like, it was weird. There are many stories coming out, and this brings us to the other topic, which is like the issue of fake news and the issue of falsified news. Because you have you have like this thought in people's heads where it's like, is that computer generated? Did that really happen?
Yes.
I can't really trust it. I don't trust CNN. I
Mm-hmm.
don't think Fox News knows what they're talking about. This reporter's freaking out. Like people are feeling like things aren't adding up, and it's really blurring a lot of lines where it's like I personally understand, like CNN, Fox News, they like to dramatize things to get more clicks, to get more interest. And one of the scenes was, there was a place that this reporter was in that was near Gaza. It was a settlement that was just liberated. And she was like, this reporter was like on the ground and trying to be all careful and safe. And like some Israeli soldier next to her was like standing, me like, "Hey, what's going on? Like, what are you doing? Like stand up." And like, because of that little antic of her trying to be dramatic, now there's people online being like, see, the media is just making things up. They're blowing things out of proportion. And you're like, oh God. Or there was another situation where it's like, you heard about the babies and everything like that, the story with that. And it's just like, now people are like, well, it wasn't all of them got it, their heads chopped off. It wasn't specifically, they exaggerated the numbers. Like, first off, to have that mindset of like, oh, it was just an exaggeration, it wasn't that big of a deal. Like, no, stop it. Or it's like, oh, they're just being dramatic, or like they're trying to downplay it. And that's the other issue with like this PR move I'm seeing with people, either naturally or something happening behind. But I think it's a natural reaction where they're like, everyone now is speculative. Nobody trusts anybody. So when you start,
there's also a human phenomena here, where when there's like imminent danger, or you see people who have fallen, unfortunately, victims to like horrendous acts of criminality and terrorism, you you want to give yourself a sense of security, like, oh, that can't happen to me.
Yeah.
It's like a defense mechanism, you might say,
Yeah.
rather than, saying, oh my God, if that can happen to that person, that can happen to me. And it can be very scary. So people come up with all sorts of, like one of the news commentators who was really irritated with those people who are, like you say, those people who are trying to come up with excuses. He
Yeah.
says he calls them the butt people.
Yeah.
And he was really upset. He said, and this was not a non-Jewish news commentator, and he
Yeah.
said, no more buts. He says this was evil, this was inexcusable, this was horrible, no more buts.
And I think that's what's happening to, thank God, a lot of people right now, where it's a lot of like they're done playing the whataboutism.
Yeah, that's what about, right?
It's a whataboutism,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a way to refute an argument where it's like, well, you might do it, yeah, but what about this? What about that? Like you're just like, no, you're just dodging the question, you're dodging the situation.
Right.
And what's happening, I noticed also with a lot of leftist Jews, is they're like, oh, there are people here that stood up for BLM and stood up for gay rights and stood up for all sorts of things. But when it comes to Jews, it's like, well, it's a complicated issue. We're not really sure. We have to be careful,
Mm-hmm.
all sides. They're good people on all sides and all the situation. And then they're like, no, there wasn't. There was like 200 something, was it 232? I don't know what the amount at the party itself, like, and civilians just being gunned down.
Yeah.
And just mowed down like freaking animals.
This was actually a first. And I mean, there plenty of skirmishes, but it was always mostly the military.
Yeah.
Except there was an incident many years ago, I remember, in the 70s. That's when the Rebbe started the mezuzah campaign.
Yeah.
Where there were some Israeli high school students that were on some sort of weekend excursion camping, field trip.
Yeah.
And we're inside their school building, and some Palestinian terrorists came, held them hostage, and then they were negotiating with Moshe Dayan and everything.
Oh, I heard about
and
this
then they opened up fire on the high school students, and I think there were like 6 that were killed. I'm not saying it was because of this, but I, saying that it was ironic. Please, I'm not blaming anybody.
Yeah.
That when they checked the mezuzahs in the school, 6 of them were not kosher. And I'm not saying it blacks because that's why these kids got killed. Yeah,
it's just
I'm not saying that because that's first of all, it's not the thing to say. That isn't. But that's when the Rebbe like really got into the mezuzah campaign, encouraging people to check their mezuzahs. I mean, and the irony was when he did the mezuzah campaign, when I remember me and some of my colleagues, approaching from teachers in the school we were working who were non-Chabad, and when we talked to them and said, hey, was your mezuzah, are you checking your mezuzahs? Maybe we should all be doing this. Their reaction was, I don't have to check my mezuzahs. I'm a from Jew. I was like, we tried to explain to them, wait a minute, one has nothing to do with the other. A mezuzah is an object that just like your radio or television needs to be repaired, your mezuzah needs to be repaired too from time to time. Your mezuzah can lose letters, the letters can fade, but that's the irony when Rebbe first started that campaign, that a lot of non-Chabad from Jews like made that ironic correlation.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'm from, why do I have to check my mezuzahs? Yes, you have to check your mezuzahs. So he basically woke everybody up.
Yeah.
To the idea that no matter what your level of frumkeit, a mezuzah is an inanimate object, and it does have to be checked and repaired occasionally.
Well, that's what's so funny. I was talking to somebody today. He wasn't Jewish, but his wife is, and I was asking if he lit Shabbos candles, and he's like, "Oh, well, I'm not really religious." I'm like, "It's not a religious thing. It's like bagels and lox and meat and pastrami on rye. It's just what Jews do. You light Shabbos candles."
But you don't have that. I've come across that mentality also, and you try to explain to these people, you don't have to be quote unquote orthodox to do these things.
Well, that's what's so great
You
now
can
is
put
that
on
people are,
tefillin, you can light Shabbos candles, and you don't have, you can keep kosher, and you don't have to say, "Oh, I'm not," that I feel like I'm not Orthodox. I don't do this. Like, you're Jewish, and there's no reason you can't do these things. Like, stop pigeonholing yourself. Stop labeling yourself.
I think that's what's happening now. I said a story one time once I was waiting. So we were getting ready to load up the truck for Hatsala, and we were just sitting there waiting for the truck to come. And I was talking to the guys, and we were just swapping stories of what we've heard. And I heard about a story, and the way I heard it was there was an Orthodox Jew standing out next to the El Al flight desk, and that if anybody needed a flight to Israel, and they were going there to go join the army, the military, that he's just going to pay for their ticket. And I said it that way, and he paid like 250 tickets.
Oh my
But when I
gosh.
said that story,
Amazing.
my friend was like, "Don't use labels. Doesn't matter if it's
Mhm.
Orthodox or not. Don't use labels." And
Yeah.
I honestly, I was agreeing with him. I'm like, "You're right." I was just trying to talk verbatim versus story, because when I tell a story, I try to make it verbatim. This is what I heard, and not try to
Yeah.
embellish it. But you're right.
Mhm.
No, there's no such thing as Orthodox, conservative, reform. It's just a Jew, and Jews do this.
Mhm.
And I think we're finally getting to that now. We're just like, everyone's lighting Shabbos candles, everyone's putting on tefillin, everyone's saying Tehillim and saying Shema. Like, that's just what Jews do. That's what we're supposed to do as Jews. And I hope this is the final part of Mashiach in a sense, where it's just like, we're all ready for it. Just please give it to
Yeah.
us.
Right.
And
And it's sad that the human psyche is such that it takes a tragedy to to be the catalyst
yeah.
to bring everybody to this. It's sad that it can't be some sort of massive happy event
Well, wait a
to do
second.
this.
No, there's been, I mean, unfortunately, not to the scale, and therefore
Mhm.
sad, but I mean, the Madison Square Garden was sold out completely with the most amount of people on world record because of the Daf Yomi.
That's right.
There
About
were
that.
plenty of positive moments where
Mhm.
everyone like lit Shabbos candles, and everybody, bait challah for Shabbos. Like, there were plenty of positive times. It's just the
Mhm.
negative affects you very harshly and very intensely and very quickly.
I
So
know there's a Hasidic idea that, like they say, everything that comes from God is good. Everything. And so people say, well, what about something horrible like this? And they said that when something horrible, something what seems to us to be negative as human beings, because we're human beings, we don't see past, present, and future at once. We're not God. We're limited human beings. And they said that um the spiritual revelation, the godly revelation that comes from something tragic is actually on a higher spiritual level. It's just that that's why that it's hidden, and you have to dig deeper to pull it out.
well, that's why there's a
Like,
whole idea of, you should have revealed good this year, giving
amen,
blessings of revealed
amen.
good, because,
Yes.
you know, hidden good, it's nice, but it's not.
No,
It's not. It's not.
we
It's not fun.
we don't want. I mean, it's hard to say Gamzela Tova sometimes. Like,
Oh yeah.
but there are sometimes like it's hard to say Gamzela Tova. I remember one time your father goofed up something in Pop's store.
Hmm.
He was working for he was working for your grandfather for a while.
Yeah.
The first few years we were married, and he goofed up something, and so your father the results were not good, and so your father says to Pop, "Gamzela Tova," and Pop says to him, "I'll Gamzela Tova you."
What was it? What exactly? Do you remember what it
I
was?
don't know. I forgot. It was not.
Uh,
It was not anything major, but it was something that caused. I don't know. Caused a problem.
Probably okay.
And
Okay.
that's what Pop's Gamzela Tova you.
Yeah. No, I tried to do Gamzula Taiva. It's just, you know, it gets hard when the gum it gets bigger. You know what I mean?
Excuse me. I want to make a I need my throat's kind of scratchy. Pardon me, I'll make a bracha over my tea. Bracha to Adonai Hinamach Hamshachon Bebara.
Amen. Yeah, enjoy. Yeah, it's just I love seeing the Achdus. I love seeing everyone, just come together, and I want Mashiach now. Like I
Amen.
really do.
Amen.
I think we all kind of feel that way.
This might sound ironic, but when I was listening to that speech that was it Eric Adams,
Eric
Mayor of
Adams
New
from
York,
New York.
whoa, it's like something hit me. Something hit me like God willing, this is it. This is what we've been waiting for thousands of years. This is finally going to be it. I
Yeah,
just had that very strong feeling.
I like, again. I definitely want to hope that this is the end. I definitely want to hope that this is the end. And just trying to my lips to God's ears kind of situation. Because it's definitely, something that we have to remain vigilant about. Like after this, this is what it's like to be a Jew. This is what it means to be a Jew. It means to be a Torah and mitzvot. It's not about anything else that we try to hold on to. But Torah and mitzvot is what identifies us, and we should identify us like proudly and firmly.
Do you know that idea I brought up to you about the relationship of the Holocaust to what's happening now? You remember we decided we shouldn't put it on the podcast, but do you still feel that way? Do you want me to keep it to myself?
I guess if you know what, go ahead and say something. I think I just, again, I'm trying to focus on positivity, but we can't stray from reality.
Okay. When I was watching the footage, the actual footage of what Hamas was putting over the social media, something occurred to me that it says, I think it's in Yecheskel, if I'm not mistaken, that at the time of the coming of Mashiach, God is going to judge the non-Jews of the world for what they did to the Jews over other centuries, and that the righteous goyim are going to obviously be judged positively, and those goyim who oppressed the Jews and did not come to their aid are going to basically, sounds revengeful, but get their due. And it occurred to me that what was the excuse that a lot of the non-Jews had about the Holocaust? It was, we didn't know. The Germans hid it, which was true. The Germans hid it. The media hid it. And they didn't find out the truth about it until finally the camps were liberated. That's when they found out the ugly truth. But now, everyone knows it's Hamas that is putting these images over social media and showing very blatantly exactly what they're doing in real time. So now, as far as the non-Jews of the world are concerned, so what's your excuse now?
Well, what their excuse is, they're trying to delegitimize everything now. They're going to try to go ahead and either they're going to lower the I'm just going to lower the expectations, but they're going to lower their standards of what they think is the right thing to do, and they're going to go ahead and blame the Jews for everything else.
But this one news commentator, this one talk show host said something. He said, He said that these the people that are coming up with excuses saying, "Oh, this is just propaganda. It's being staged." He said, "Wait a minute. If this were coming from another news agency, maybe you could think that way." He says, "But these images are coming from Hamas themselves. This is from Hamas. They're showing everybody exactly what they're doing." He says, "So how can you come up with that excuse?" that it was staged. It's right from Hamas.
They're using every excuse in the book to legitimize themselves and delegitimize Yidden. And that is going to be the funniest thing of reality, is that, they just they're gonna talk themselves into a corner, and it's happening now. People are seeing it happen now, but it's going to get worse and worse and worse. And how much of a corner they're going to talk themselves into? Because you know what I noticed? I was online. I was on Reddit, and there was this video that went on a subreddit called "Damn, That's Interesting," and it was somebody recording. All you see the video is someone recording something, the sky, and the sky just bursts into little white pieces. You're like, what? And it falls down, and somebody grabs it, and you realize it's Gaza, and they are holding a piece of paper, and they show it. It's the Israeli army telling them in Arabic, leave this area, we are bombing it. Leave this area. And the person recorded it. So like, it's finally people are seeing what it is. Like, this is what's happening. This is what's going on. Like, I can't express this enough and tell you enough times. Like, and people come up, to me, and they're like, wow, we didn't know, yada, yada. Like, dude, we've been talking about this issue since the get-go, and like people are finally coming around to it. But that's all I can say about it right now.
Well,
Say la vie.
I don't know what else to say. I think we said everything that.
Yeah, with moments to spare.
What they say.
Yeah.
You mean we still have time on our side?
We still got time on our side, baby. We're doing great.
Usually we talk so much. Usually we go over the limit.
I know. I think because there's nothing else to say. There's nothing. I thought I would make it a double episode and talk, but it's just like there's nothing else to talk about. God willing, it's going to work itself out. God willing, we're going to be fine. And God willing, Mashiach's going to come.
Amen, amen.
When all that happens, it's up to Hashem.
Mm-hmm.
That's the truth. And that's all I can say. We will survive this. We will be fine.
You heard what was happening. Hamas is not letting anybody leave. In fact, they're going to shoot people. They're trying to evacuate.
And you know what? You know where that was reported? On CNN. Yeah, right. They never say that.
Communist News Network.
Yeah, exactly. Communist News Network. Yeah, I mean, they would never report it previously. They would just keep it under wraps. They'd be like, no, it's fine, whatever. Like, people are seeing the indifference, by the way, of people is also like very loud. Mm-hmm. That's what I find interesting, is the indifference I noticed. But like, it didn't bother me. It was just very, very loud. And I'm like, oh, okay, your colors are showing.
I was thinking that's true. I think, like, you're right. The real haters are no longer hiding, but the good people are also not hiding. You're seeing like everything coming to a head at this point. I was thinking to myself, though, like, as far as the residents of Gaza are concerned, that they've been warned, I wonder if there's going to be a massive rebellion against Hamas, because the residents of Gaza now, they've been warned, they've got nothing to lose. They have mamish nothing to lose at this point by having a huge rebellion against Hamas and basically killing them off so that they can at least get out of the area.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if that's going to happen. I wouldn't surprise me. I mean, why shouldn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. It's just only God knows. Only God knows. And that's the thing. I think we're really finding.
I can't wait for him to let us in on it.
Yeah, that'd be nice. Hey, by the way, a few questions about what the was going on. Oh man, but yeah, that's surprising that we really just, like, for some reason, just don't have any more to talk about. Just only thing I could say is do Torah mitzvot, light Shabbos candles, put on tefillin. Be positive. We'll get through this. Everything's gonna be fine. God willing, we should, all be in Eretz Yisrael with Mashiach Tzidkenu. Amen.
Amen.
Now.
Amen, sweetheart.
That's
Love
all I
you.
can
Have a great
say.
Shabbos.
All right, you too. Have a good Shabbos.
Mhm.
Love you.
You too, honey. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.